Hi everyone. As promised many moons ago, this is a screencast on the nervous system and homeostasis. We took some notes in class, but I want you to have this on YouTube in case you want to revisit it before the final. So this is our opening slide. I'm going to go through a couple of them a bit quicker here because these are the things we did. So your nervous system is running your whole life. Some of you, or most of you actually, are bringing previous knowledge from your freshman seminar class, as well as other classes that you've taken previously about the nervous system and neurons and how our brain sends signals around our body to keep us functioning. So this image is interesting to me because it shows all of the connections that are happening throughout the body. And I say all, but it's just a number of the connections that are happening throughout the body. And some of the the voluntary and involuntary signals that are being sent to our body all the time. So you can pause it here if you want to look a little bit closer at this. If not, I'm going to move forward. So quickly, I'll just make the connection to the snake venom mini project. You all talked about, let me see what the next slide, yeah. You all talked about the different types of venoms in each snake. So whatever snake that you researched, you looked a little bit into the type of venom that they have. Many of those in some way were neurotoxic, meaning they had a negative effect on the nervous system, or they morphed or changed the function of the nervous system in some way. So it changed the messages that were being sent. It wasn't allowing, it prevents your body from doing those basic functions of keeping you alive. So feel free to go back to the Padlet that everyone posted on and do some more reading about it. There were also hemotoxins having to do with your blood. There was a toxin that was specifically affecting your muscles. So there's all these different parts of our body that the venom can have an effect on. So we watched this Telegram video over here on the right. If I'm going to say pen, sorry, I'm looking for the pointer. Okay, yeah. This Telegram video on the right, which, like I said in class, is like a little bit for younger kids, but you guys aren't really kids. However, it has some really good information in it and covers a lot of what we're talking about in the class. So if you want to learn this by learning a song, go ahead, click on the Telegram Bop link there. And it's not linked in this YouTube video, but it's linked in your class slideshow. So we started with that, and then we talked about the different parts of the nervous system. So the central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord. So right here, brain, and then your spinal cord that goes all the way along your spine in your back. Okay, that's where most of your messages, that's where all of your messages are being sent from, is your brain, and then they're going down your spinal cord into the different parts of your body. The peripheral nervous system is considered the nerves that carry information from the central nervous system to the rest of the body. So all of these tiny yellow lines are representing the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral means like the outside, so it's going out to the rest of your body. And there's two parts of the nervous system, the somatic, which is the voluntary, and the autonomic, which is the involuntary. So we talked a little bit about what some different functions within those two are. So functions that are involuntary are your heart beating, your breathing, your digestion. You're not telling your body to digest anything that's happening in your body that you're not thinking about, or you're not telling it to do or asking it to do consciously, are things that are involuntary. So the somatic are things like raising your arm. When you raise your arm, you're thinking about raising your arm. It's not just happening without you asking it to happen. Like I also mentioned, I think in most of your classes, you can change your breathing. So that could end up being voluntary. You know, in yoga and meditation, we think about our breath consciously. So that's a moment that it could be voluntary. But if you stopped thinking about it, it would keep going. So in the end, it's still the autonomic function, one of the autonomic functions. And then this link on the corner, more about neurons, if you're interested in how they're powered. It's basically talking about cellular respiration and how that works. So there are so many links in this slideshow, but the image on the right is from another informational video. It's got this really cool animation, kind of like hand-drawn animation. And I liked this image because it's a circuit board, and that's sort of how your central nervous system works with the rest of your body and your peripheral nervous system. So the hand here would be your brain giving the rest of your body signals. So you could think maybe the plug that the person is plugging in is the spinal cord, and then it's moving from place to place, right? It's sending those messages. So we'll say one dot is your kidney, one dot is your stomach, one dot is the bottom of your foot, things like that, okay? So it's sending messages around your body. The main function of the nervous system, if you can't remember anything else, the most simple way that you could think about this is to process information. So if you can't remember, if you're on the test or quiz and you're like, what is the function of the nervous system? Remember that it's to process information. A little bit longer and more detailed, to generate a response given by a stimulus. So it's processing information that's being given by a stimulus, which is something that's happening either inside your body or outside your body. It's like triggering a response that your body needs to make. And then the longest verse one that you should know is the nervous system functions to process input from sensory receptors, transfer and interpret impulses, and to control the functions of body's muscles and organs. So you can tell that these just get shorter, going from the bottom to the top. They get shorter, but they're all saying very similar things. All right. Like I mentioned, I know all of you have some background in talking about neurons. They are the individual cellular unit in the nervous system. So when you're thinking, I compared it to a ping pong game happening across your head, across your brain. There are a bunch of tiny little ping pong games happening all the way across your brain all the time, right? These messages are being sent back and forth just like that ping pong ball from one side to the other of your brain. That's a little bit generalized because there are different parts of your brain that do that control certain functions. So actually, those ping pong balls are being thrown back across certain parts of your brain if it's like something specific. But I would take anatomy and physiology or psychology if you are interested more in those different specific parts of the brain. So in pink here, these electrical messages are called synapses. So the messages that are being sent between these neurons are called synapses. And the explanation of that: the charge follows the stem of the neuron cells. When the electrical signal gets to the end of the cell, electrical signal is turned into the chemical signal or the neurotransmitters. Okay, and that's what you can connect directly back to most of your snake venom research. The neurotransmitters oftentimes are what the venom is affecting. So it's changing the chemical signals being sent by the neurotransmitters. It's blocking them, it's morphing them, it's doing something to change what they're saying. So then your body isn't functioning the way it's supposed to. And then last but not least, brain cells, as all other cells, are powered by glucose, powered by cellular respiration. All right. This isn't quite as effective in a video format, but I asked you what you think immediately when you see these three images together. If I remember correctly, many people said fear, surprise. Someone said stimulus, I believe. So things like that. Okay, and we have these circuits of neurons, these little like communities that have particular purposes. So we have them for fear in our brain, to recognize fear, to recognize pain, to recognize something that could be like joyful. there's a whole slew of these different little communities. So if you see a snake, you're going to run away from it most likely. Okay, and I believe, yeah, this last one. We have to connect it all back to homeostasis, which we talked a little bit about in the unit on functions of life. But homeostasis is the regulation of conditions in the body, such as body temperature, water content, and carbon dioxide levels. So those are all things we talked about with the marathon runner. We we talked about body temperature in one of the last few classes. Water content was also our last class. And carbon dioxide levels, we talked about oxygen saturation. So those two things go hand in hand. So just remember, homeostasis is the regulation of conditions in the body. So it's trying to keep everything. Homeostasis is when everything is equal, or the action of keeping everything equal. Excellent. All right, so the rest of the information is in our slideshow, in the class slideshow. You did a couple of different things through that. All right, thank you.